is Jennifer Barbosa. I own International Supply Partners. I am a mom of three
Hmm.
and a serial entrepreneur and somewhat of a workaholic.
Aren't we all?
Yes. Um, and let's see, I'm a first generation American of Cape Verdean immigrants.
Wow.
My family has a lot of history and culture from the Cape Verde Islands. My grandfather was a businessman himself and did a lot of import export between the US and the islands and just come from a huge family. My grandfather had 32 kids.
Wait, can you repeat that? How many kids?
32.
32.
32.
Wow.
Yeah. And I know all 32 of my aunts and uncles. Well,
Wow.
31. My
31.
mom, yeah.
I heard you say serial entrepreneur. So can you, I think, I know what that means, but I don't know if everyone else knows what that necessarily means and what is some of the stuff you've worked on in the past.
Yeah, so a serial entrepreneur, the way I look at it is, I love business. I love running a business. I love the excitement of starting a new business. And I've had multiple businesses, and I have multiple businesses. I also own a small boutique insurance agency, Barbosa Benefits and Financial Services, and
Wow.
I've had that business for over 10 years now. Um, Before that, I've had, well, I'll go down the list.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so I worked, I had a jewelry store. I was actually the first Black woman-owned jewelry store in Rhode Island, where I grew up.
Wow.
And I actually brought, believe it or not, how my jewelry company, the jewelry store started is I started selling grills.
Really?
Yeah, I was slanging grills out the trunk of the car, and within
Nice.
3 months, opened up the shop and was selling fine jewelry.
Wow.
Um, I've had a real estate office and mortgage office. So right before the housing collapse, had a mortgage office with I think about I think the peak I had about five loan officers working in
Wow.
an office, and then I've done real estate, development, um, developed some properties. I owned a small female caddy service for golfers, and I've had a small cleaning business that I helped get together. My father now still owns one. We grew up with his janitorial cleaning business,
Yeah.
so I grew up in that industry as well. So owning businesses, as you learn, right? So early on, I came up with an idea. If I got excited about it, I just jumped in. I would just do it,
Yeah.
and I would go write out the ideas, write the business plan, get
Hmm.
the business registered, do everything, plan out how I'm going to market all of that, and just go in. And
Yeah.
most of my businesses I bootstrapped, like
Wow.
all of it. And so through that, obviously, you'll have failures if you don't have a great plan. Not all ideas are great ideas.
Fair.
Uh, there are things that you need to consider, but an entrepreneur doesn't really look at, from my experiences and talking to other entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs for that, we don't look at the details and the hurdles that we're going to be up against. We just see the big picture and what it could be, the
Yeah.
possibilities, right? And we tunnel vision on that and
Yeah.
don't worry about all of the rest of the stuff, which is good, but can also be detrimental. All of those businesses, and some businesses I just didn't think it was viable.
Hmm.
Other businesses I had to let go of because of life events
Hmm.
that prevented me from being able to sustain it. and others I just failed because I did not pay attention, or I didn't do what was necessary, or I got ahead of myself before I was really ready to take that next step.
Mm.
A variety of different things. Trusting. I lost my jewelry business, honestly, to trusting an employee that I thought I could trust,
Oh.
and entrusted him with watching the store and doing everything while I went on a trip away out
Hmm.
of town for, I think it was like almost a week.
Hmm.
And while I was gone, he stole everything.
Wow.
And all of our all of my proprietary information,
What?
and yes, yes, it's hard in these streets.
Yeah, seriously. How do you like? I can't even imagine like coming. You're on vacation, like trying to unplug, and you
Yeah,
come back to that. Like, how do
you
you?
come in, and
Wow.
I really, even when I got back, I wasn't aware of what was going on,
Yeah,
but he had plenty of time and opportunity to gather. And so he went in and tried to start his own business. But I know karma is a true thing,
yeah,
because although he did well at first, when you are a liar, a crook,
yeah,
and you take advantage of people, it'll come back, because that's your, if that's your MO, you're gonna keep
yeah.
doing that. So
Mhm.
he had, from what I've heard and had heard of, uh, he had been robbed multiple times.
Wow. Yeah,
Death threats. I mean, jewelry, and
yeah.
and depending who your clientele is, you're dealing with a different type of clientele.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
How I started the company, and how I got the idea was through a former client of mine that I used to do insurance for. He was a
Yeah,
government contractor, and he sold copy paper
mm,
and did very well.
yeah.
And I serviced federal employees and government contractors when I lived in the DC area, and knew that government contracting was a thing.
Hmm.
So when I came up with the idea, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to sell to the government. I don't know what, but I want to sell something to the government.
Yeah.
And I was familiar with the cleaning industry and supplies and things like that from my dad's company. And
Hmm.
so I decided that I was going to sell office and cleaning supplies. And so I went ahead, I registered the company,
Hmm.
and I immediately got all of my government certifications, my DBE, MBE, WOSB with the SBA and the local state, and the GDOT, which is the Georgia Department of Transportation. I got all my certifications before I sold the thing, and started doing that. That the company, I did get a few accounts, but again, as an entrepreneur, you see the vision, and you're not
Yeah,
realizing the amount of work that goes into it.
yeah,
It was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. I was
yeah.
competing against, Amazon and all these other big box companies.
Wow.
So it was really competitive in pricing. And doing government contract, which is a great, great avenue, is can take time,
Hmm.
and it takes a lot of work. So it's not an overnight thing.
Hmm.
During that same time, because I had already been in the insurance industry for so long,
Hmm.
I was also getting recruited and invited to continue to do the insurance. And so that, eventually started to take more of my time.
Oh, okay.
And so ISP was kind of in the back burner for a little bit.
Okay.
Had small accounts, but
Yeah.
nothing very active, nothing that consumed much of time for
Yeah.
me. Fast forward to the pandemic, lose my position as a benefits consultant for companies,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I started to receive calls from my manufacturers asking me if I needed PPE. Now, this is before the lockdown.
Oh, wow.
And so I really wasn't understanding what was going on. I just knew that something was up. And
Yeah.
because my manufacturers were converting from uh, production of their regular products to PPE.
Yeah.
And the few people that did know of my supply company started to reach out to me asking me if I had access to any PPE in large volumes. And so, although a lot of people were going through very difficult times, and actually, as a matter of fact, I was myself because I was going through a divorce as well.
Oh, man.
And so I had already moved out, moved into a new place with myself and my children, my three children,
Hmm.
and going through the divorce, now the pandemic. I really didn't have a lot of time,
Yeah.
and I did not have a lot of bored or slow time. I was actually inundated with phone calls and emails and
Hmm.
conversations on accessing and supplying PPE.
Hmm.
And so while everyone was complaining about being bored and making TikTok videos,
You're out here working these
I'm
streets.
over here working. And that's exactly how International Supply Partners started to grow. And so I started to serve hospitals, health centers, local governments, in supplying, and expanded our capability to supply a variety of things because we have relationships with manufacturers. So there's not a limit in regards to what we can offer,
Wow.
and we connect with manufacturers both domestic as well as international.
Wow.
So I've had a few coaches.
Mm.
I'm a couple mentors, and I'm always looking for the next one.
Mhm.
There are multiple areas that need to be coached on, from
Yeah.
personal to business.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I've had friends, as well as other professional colleagues who have coached me through. I went through therapy during the pandemic and before the pandemic to get through my divorce.
Mm.
And I used the pain, and I put that energy into my company to grow.
Mm.
But even through that, I had some hard experiences and losses.
Uh,
I've lost what I thought were friendships.
mm.
I've all of those things. And so you need to be able to connect with people who are experts in managing and assessing those chapters in your life
Mhm.
and experiences. You need to be able to speak with someone who's already been through what you're going through.
Mhm.
So you can look us up online, International Supply Partners. Social media is International Supply Partners, or INTLSPPLYPRTNRS. So without the vowels. um, and then if you want to follow me personally on IG, it's Bossy Barbosa. And you can email me. My email is Jennifer at bizsupplyorders.com.